been a while since we've done anything with the 69 Nova. I thought I'd bring you up to date on what's been going on. Our last video, we had the engine running and I did a little test drive in the alley, and I couldn't go very far because it was getting pretty hot. We had two coolant leaks, one at the water neck and another one at the heater core. So in this video, we're going to start out, we're going to go ahead and address those two issues. Two areas that we had the coolant leaks was at the front of the water neck and back here at the lower hose for the heater core. So here's the water neck off, and what I wound up doing is I stuck a piece of sandpaper to my flat concrete floor and then ran this over top of it, and you can see it is a little uneven, but it took most of the powder coat off. I have everything pretty much leveled down at this point, so I think this is good now, be ready to use. So we finished up everything on the firewall. So now to get this heater box out, I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the glove box liner out of here. It's in really good shape. I don't want to take a chance of getting any damage to it. And it may give us some more access to the top of this box then. Now you can see the top of the box. We have a cable up there we want to disconnect, and that plug. Okay, got it free. I still have some cables I couldn't quite get to because of the defroster duct. There we go. So I'm gonna try and get to them. I'm hoping this core is not leaking all over the carpet right now. I got some rags under it. It's a little dirty up in there too, so we'll be cleaning some of that up then today. All right, so you can see we're gonna have to undo this to get that one cable. The other end, I have the cable unbolted. I just didn't pull the clip, so I just have to do that yet. Okay, with all the clips now done, should be able to pull this out. All right. There might be a little bit of corrosion there. Perhaps this was leaking, but I really think it was wet from me pulling it out. Well, let's go ahead and get this thing out of here. I don't know. It is looking like it could be leaking down in here. Yeah. We're going to do a pressure test and we'll see what happens. So here's the setup. Yes, these hoses are a lot longer than I need, but I only have about 20 PSI in here, and I just put a hose end on it. And there you can see I think it's right in this area here on the back side. You can hear the sound change. Let's try from here. I don't think it's... Oh, it could be that seam right there too. Well, back on this heater core. Got a new replacement, but one of the issues that we ran into is it arrived from shipping with a little bit of damage. So you can see it's a little damp here because I did a little pressure test on it. Hit it with some soapy water, put about 30 pounds PSI in it, and had no leaks. So even though it's a little damaged, just going to accept it that way. You know, with shipment issues nowadays, it's just too much of a pain to try and send it back. If it doesn't leak, I don't think it's going to harm anything, so we're going to go ahead and move forward with that. All right, so another thing that I want to do is I want to compare the new one with the old one for sizing. Make sure we have the correct unit. So length, we're the same. And on the width, we are slightly different. The new one is a little bit smaller. Let's see if our hoses line up. Yeah, our inlet and outlet look like they're pretty much the same position. So we should be able to use this. Since I seem to be out of table space, I'm using the Jeep hood as my workbench. Go ahead and place that in here. I don't believe that there was any anything between the core and the box. Actually looking at it, there might have been something in there. Yeah, actually there is a little something in there. I wonder what I should put into that. If I should put anything in there. I wonder if that'll rattle. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to put something in there. I'll go to my good old 3M strip caulk, and then I'm just going to put a small bead of that down around this case, and hopefully that'll keep that from rattling. Alright, it's pretty ugly looking, but it's not torn or anything, so I should be able to put this back on. So, it's been a couple days since I had taken all this apart, waiting on that heater core, so I bagged up all the screws as well as this resistor so that nothing would get misplaced. So we're going to go ahead and start putting it back in. One of the other things I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this strip caulk back here between this case and the firewall just to run another sealing line across the top of that. Then I'm not going to pull this all the way off because it's up underneath the fender where the blower motor is, but it's loose enough that I can get in there and put some of that strip caulk in that. Installation will be just the reverse the way we pulled this out, so we'll end up having to make the cable connections to these two areas. And one of the things you might notice too, I also put some tape over the ends of the core lines. That'll keep dirt from getting inside of that new heater core. You may also notice that case looks a little bit better than it did when I pulled it out. One of the things I didn't want to bore everybody with it, but I did clean the case and repaint it before I installed the new core. I was working by myself putting this core in, and every time I tried to push it in, it was pushing the outer case away from the firewall. So this was the method I came up with to hold it in place so I could get it all connected. So now that we got that heater core all straightened out, we're going to go ahead and do something a little bit different. We're going to take a quick trip over to the junkyard. We're going to go ahead and find something for this car for our next part of the project. So I'm at Bonner's today, looking for some more parts. And one of the things I want to do is I want to come back to this 72 Nova that's sitting in here because there's actually a half-decent bench seat in it. So we kept it covered up. So hoping to grab that out of here then today for the 69 Nova. My brother and I saw this Nova a couple weeks ago, and that's why we covered up the seat and had it set up the way we could, so hopefully it helped to protect it. We looked around this car and was thinking that it may have been ended up in the junkyard because it looks like a project that someone was started to do the work to restore it, and they cut the quarter panels off of it, and I think they wound up realizing this car needed far more work than it was going to end up being worth. In fact, as I'm looking at it, it shakes a lot, so there might be a nut. I may have to get this up off the ground. Lucky for me, I have a jack. If I can get a socket on it, we'll be using this guy. One out. Now let's do the other side. All right, finally got the back bolt on the opposite side. Turned out it was 1/2 inch back there, so totally messed me up. So it should be ready to come out at this point. Now's when it would have been nice to have a hand, but since it's on a weekday, I'm by myself. Take a look at the underside. Yeah, it's a little bit rusty. But I think after lubricating it, can make that work. All right, see if I can get this into the truck. All right, so I thought let's do another walk around the Nova and show a couple things that typically rot out on this generation. First off, we got the hood. Someone put pins in it. Well, let's flip that over. Take a look. You can see that front lip. And most of your GM cars have that issue from the 60s. Firewall, typically what you find with Novas is it'll usually be this seam down, especially around the wiper, which also, by the way, the wiper motor bolts almost always snap off, so be aware of that if you're planning on pulling that out. Oh, look at that. That one had a heater core in. We just did a heater core. Not that I would trust using a used one. Usually I don't think any of these pockets rot. Let's take a look. Windshield area. Another area of typical rot on these. You can see this one here was pretty bad. Obviously, most of your cars from the 60s and 70s ends up being floor pans. This one here had this one replaced. The other one, it looks like it might have a patch in it. Passenger side rear doesn't look too bad. And of course, the driver side rear was totally gone. Of course, rockers in most cars. This one here, wow. Fender lip. You can see this one here was just full of plastic at one time. Rear frame rails. This is what I was having a problem when I put the jack under it. That one's in pretty bad shape. Shock tower extenders, if you've never seen those, that's what those look like. That's how we used to also jack our cars up back in the day. Sometimes you used air shocks and those, and you got maximum lift out of it. The inside of the trunk drops off. Usually they rot there as well as on the outside of the quarter. Back here, the back window area. Actually, this one here does not look bad, but it's another area that they will rot out. The tail section with this seam, they tend to rot out. Trunk floors, actually this one's not, well, okay, I was going to say not too bad, but now I see it's all across the back. It all depends if you had water leakage. Usually if this was leaking, then it got into the trunk and rotted things out. There you can see on the inside of the rear fender wells, it was rotted. Looks like somebody needed some metal up in here for their project. There you can see up here at the roof line. Now if it was a vinyl top car, a lot of this would be all rotted out. All right, that gives you a pretty good look. Actually, this one hadn't been patched. Had a hole up front, so it wasn't too bad there. Like I say, that rear is still there. That's not too bad. Oh, spoke too soon. There's a hole back there. Throws that right out of there. That one might be a little bit harder to reach. There's that side. There's the other side. Ooh, that nice stack of washers. Chunk of aluminum, piece of pipe. That was like caked in there. Oh yeah. Coming out somewhat. Yeah, them brackets are gonna be right there, I guess. Yeah, most of it's gonna be covered. Majority. Ruined a good carpet. Alright. All we need should be right over in here. There it is. Okay, I realize these seats aren't the best looking, but they do look a lot better than the plastic racing seats that were in here when he bought the car. Over time, he'll probably do a little bit of black dye to help blend it in, and they'll probably throw a seat cover over the front half of it, so it should blend in pretty well. But now we have a new problem. The car's been backfiring through the carburetor. Now, we did another timing check and put it on top dead center. It was on the compression stroke. Everything was where it should be. Thought maybe there might have been an issue with this distributor, so I swapped it out with another good one. Still did the exact same thing. So I think we might have some stuck valves. So the next thing is we're going to go ahead and do a compression check. Start by pulling plug number 3, and the reason I'm going to do that is I'm pretty certain it was this one here that originally when we got this engine running, I pulled all the plugs to clean, and number 3 had a bit of rust on the end of it. So I suspect, since this car had been parked for a while in a damp space, that there might be some rust in that cylinder, and it might be something going on with the valve itself, that maybe it's getting stuck open, or who knows. It just seems to me like the appropriate starting point. I'll see how well I can get this to go in here. Alright, so next I want to disconnect the wire for the distributor. And then the other thing I need to do is hold this throttle open. So we'll just use a bungee cord to do that. Got a little bit of compression on that one. Seems a bit low though, don't it? Yeah, that's not good. So here's the results. Not too good. There's 2 cylinders I couldn't get to with the header the way it is. I can't get this compression tool in there. But, and the wet was, they were just very wet with gas. But there it is. Number 4 I do not like. Well, I don't like 3 or 7 either. So now you're caught up on the 69 Nova project. What we think we have going on, we may have a valve or two that's sticking open, and that's why we're getting the backfiring issue. The compression, those numbers are showing that there's something that's going on there. This engine had been running before, but it was kind of a hard start, so that would kind of lead me to believe that there is a compression issue. Again, I'm hoping that it's valve related and not the rings. The best thing to do would probably be to pull ahead and go from there, but we don't want to do it while it's in the car. My brother really would like to be able to drive this car. He's, from the purchase price and the timing and everything, I know he really would like to use this car. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and find a cheap running small block Chevy engine on Marketplace. Pull this one out, throw another running engine in it just so he can play with it. Then I can take this engine apart, figure out what's going on. If it's an easy fix, well, then we'll take care of it and we'll swap it back in. Otherwise, we may have to do some major work, but one of the things I want to do in the future here, sooner rather than later, I want to build an engine run stand. So this might be the first candidate that goes up on that engine run stand. Hope you enjoyed this video. There will be more on the Nova as we continue to collect parts and get things taken care of. All the other projects, the Jeep will be back. What else do I have? I'm working on the 51 Merc doing the wiring. So hopefully I'll have a video coming up on that again here soon. So again, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. It's completely free to do so. It helps me out, and it helps to ensure that you'll get to see any other videos coming down the road here. You won't miss any. Again, thanks for watching.